Francois, I'm an alcoholic. Francois. Yeah, yes, this leading up to the share this week, I thought I was like Iceman. It didn't bother me at all that it's coming, and every time it pops up, I just push it down. But 10 minutes ago, it hit me, and I'm sitting there and thinking, shit, why didn't I prepare? But I know if I try to prepare something, I'll be in a mess the whole week. And I truly believe I only have one story, and I have no idea how this is going to go, but I'm just going to speak from the heart, and hopefully I can carry a message. So yeah, I'm the first person in recovery in my whole family. Nobody in my mom's sister was an alcoholic, but she was unfortunate not to find out that I found now, and she died of alcoholic death. And when I grew up, we didn't know really things about what is alcoholic, and I was always the first one to judge alcoholics. And when I see people in the movies sit in a circle like this, I would make jokes of it. And today I'm one of those people. And so when I grew up, the first thing that really was hectic in my life was I think about 2 or 3 years old when my mom and dad got divorced. And I can't remember much about it when it happened, but as I grew older, from about 7, I couldn't understand why my mom and dad's divorced, and all my friends' mums and dad lived together, and my dad moved to Riversdale in the Western Cape, and I stayed in Witbank on Mpumalanga with my mum. And I remember it was always a big thing for me to tell people my mum and dad's divorced, because I felt shameful about it. And it was, like I said, it was a big thing growing up. And I moved to my dad when I was about 10 years old, and when he stayed on a farm in Riversdale, like I said, and it was difficult for me because I missed my mum, and when I'm with my mum, I miss my dad, so I never really felt belong, like we are family, because today I see it differently, but at the time, I had a stepmom. My mom and dad both got remarried, and still today they were married with that same person for basically 30 years. So, but at the time I was sitting there and I was hating my stepdad, I was hating my stepmom, because I felt like it's their fault that they divorced. And I was a very difficult child to try and raise. I didn't let them in at all. I believe they're not my mom or my dad. So in a way, I like to think I did have respect, because if I didn't have my dad to keep me hiding, he wasn't the guy that was gonna be rude to people. But in my way, I knew they can't get close to me. And so it was a difficult time for me when I grew up like that. And I've got a sister, 2 brothers. My sister and me were always very close since I've been young. She stayed at my mum's place, and I moved to my dad, so we basically never saw each other, because when I go on holidays to my mum, she goes to my dad. So that was also a thing that was missing in my life. And then came the half brothers, both sides, my mum and stepdad and dad and stepmom got 1 child each, both brothers. And I always also felt when I grew up that they love, like I said, both sides is 1 brother, and I felt basically like the odd one out, because this is my stepmom and stepdad's real son, and I'm the half. But it's all stuff that I created in my head, because I see today they never treated me differently. I built resentments up towards them and towards my brothers, and it wasn't their fault, they were young. And if they would, for example, say I must give the remote to them to watch cartoons, and I can't watch what I want to watch. It was a big thing always. And I won't necessarily voice it always, but I felt that I don't have that home that older people have. But other than that, I had, and also when I look back at it today, I had a loving family, and I still have. I made it difficult for myself because I truly believe that I was born alcoholic, and if I look back, and I never knew that until I think 3 years ago, but I'll get into that more. So I realized in school that if you're good in sport, you get away with stuff. People are more nice to you, or the teachers will let stuff slip here and there, especially in high school. And through my school days, all that I wanted to do, I wanted to be a Springbok rugby player one day, and my dad always believed I had talent for that, but I never put in really the work. I was lazy, and still today it's a defect of mine. And so I always played in the teams that I aimed to play for, and through that I believe I don't think I was a nice guy to be around, because I was always thinking I'm better than other people. And I cringe today when I think back at primary school and even high school. I wasn't a bully. I was raised to not be a bully, so I wasn't, but in a way I treated people differently, and I always felt like I'm better than. And yeah, like I said, today I'm not, it's not like it, but that's how I was. And I had a normal childhood, like I say, and standard 7 for the first time. I was in a boarding school in Oakdale. It's an all-boys school, and the first time when I started smoking, I never stopped since. So after that, one day at the hostel, a friend brought wine. That was we were going on a rugby tour, and instead of giving it in to the teachers, we drank some of the bottles. And I remember immediately I liked it. I just felt like something is a bit lifted, and also since then I always tried to drink on weekends, and never in my life since the age of 28 did somebody tell me, I think you've got a drinking problem, or lots of people told me behavioral, like teachers told me you're going to end up in jail one day, or things are not going to turn out for you, because I never listened to school to anybody. And the first thing that happened to me was standard 8. I remember my dad bought me a motorbike, and he said if I get 70 or 80%, I can't remember exactly what, for biology, he will buy me new tires for the bike. And I stole a final exam paper that was in the day it was an exam, and I broke into the classroom because I knew, it's a long story, but I'm going to keep it short. So I knew where the teacher is, where he put the exam papers. So, like I said, I was in a hostel, and I went alone because I knew. My dad always also said, if you want to do something and not get caught, you do it alone. I don't think it was the best advice Dad would give, but I listened to him and I did it alone. And so I broke in, and I couldn't steal the paper, but because I knew one's going to be missing, and then they're going to maybe track down what happened. And I wrote everything down, and I wasn't sure if the monkey part, because the first 75 was multiple choice, and I just wrote it down. I was thinking I made a mistake somewhere, and then everything else will be wrong. So I sent a friend the next early hours of the morning to go in and just make sure the stuff is right. And that didn't end well because most of the class except me, I went back, I was in the hospital and I knew, okay, I've got this, so I said to my dad, can I come home, because in the hospital you've got lots of study hours. And the day before we wrote the exam, I got back and Izan, my friend, sold all the papers for cigarettes. I also would have bought that if I were one of them. And the whole class got full marks and I was called out. And I remember, like I said, my dad didn't take lots of stories with behavior stuff like that. He came to the school, they wanted to dispel me, if it's the right word. But anyway, he gave me 6 shots in front of the headmaster with a roton, and then he left. Even the headmaster's eyes were this big because he didn't know what's going on here. And after that, I went back to my mum for holidays. And then I just decided, and that's a thing that I did a lot in my life, I run. I faced the consequences, but I didn't want to go back and face the school because, all boys school, you get mocked a lot for stuff like this. And I just decided I'm going to move back to my mum. I'm not going to stay with my dad anymore. And I think that was a big mistake that I made early in my life. Where I stayed on the farm, there was discipline, there was the school that I went to, there was tradition. It was really a good school. And I remember my mum said, you will have to fly back to your dad and tell him. I'm not going to tell him. And I remember doing that, and that was one of the worst things I ever had to do was fly back to my dad and tell him, listen, I don't want to stay with you anymore. I don't get along with my stepmom. The blaming thing, I blamed her. That's also what I did a lot in my life. And I think that broke my dad. And at the time, I was selfish. I did what I wanted to do. And how I wish my mum didn't say I can go back to her, because I still believe I would have ended up in this chair, but it would have been a different. But with that also said, I can't regret stuff. I am here today. And so yeah, I moved to my mum from an all-boys school to a mixed school. All of a sudden there's girls in the school, it's not only boys, and a lot changed for me there. There was no, like I said, in Oakdale there was discipline. It was quite militant, if I can put it that way. And then my mum, I've got the best mum in the world, but she gave me always what I wanted, and she always thought that she's doing the right thing. And so I can't blame her. I blame myself for that stuff. But she bought me a car when I was standard 9 when I moved there, because I had to get to practice for rugby and stuff. And she was working, so she can't drive me around, and we stay outside of town. And I never went to school. I was always there for rugby practice, and the headmaster was my coach in standard 9. So I went through a lot. I don't want to go into deep about this, but what my mum said was, you can get a car, but if you fail a semester, we take the car back for that semester, and she don't care how I must run to the practice then. And I said it's a good deal, and I failed all 3 my first semesters. She didn't know about one of them because I went to a friend, and every time I get my report, I go to my mum's best friend, and she was like my second mum, and we will scan the report, so it shows on the report I'm through. And every time we do this, she asks me, please just start studying, because if your mum finds out, there's going to be trouble between them. So, and what we didn't actually know, once you scan the first one, you must keep scanning, because every report, the previous semester mark is on that thing. And I failed all 3, and in the end, it was like even the headmaster told me, there's no way you're going to pass this year. He can't see it happening. And at the end of the year, I had to go fetch my report at the headmaster's office, and he told me, you didn't make it. And it was not a big surprise. I don't know why I was so surprised, but so I failed my standard 9. So I knew this is not going to end well for me. My dad, my mum. So I went home, and the first thing I did was, and I remember this quite clearly, was start drinking. Because through the whole year, all that I did on weekends was drinking. In the week, I was fine, not fine, but I could go without alcohol, and weekends I drink. And then my sister phoned me, she was in Stellenbosch at the time, and said, listen here, you didn't fail, because you had English on higher grade and not standard grade, so with technicalities, I made it through only just. And the headmaster didn't want to give me a report that I'm passing. He said I'm failing, and so we had to get people from the department of the schooling, and in the end I made it through. I didn't fail, and I still believe also that was maybe God's way of wanting to give me a consequence for what I did. And again, I went through corners to not do that and to get through, and I wanted to run again. I wanted to run to a new school, and my mum said, you're not going to a new school, you're going back there. And yeah, so through all my schooling things, there were a lot of things that happened behavioral-wise. I was never really teachable. There's no way. I don't listen to people, and I always thought I knew better. I still struggle with it today. After school, I went to England. Still, there were not really consequences in my life, because people bails me out always. As soon as something comes that's a consequence, I get away with it. And I was always thinking, I know how to handle when things happen. I know how to handle it, but it's not true. I always had people that bailed me out, and I went to England after school, and there for the first time I started using substances, and I was thinking this is the best thing ever. I can't believe I waited so long, because in school still there were people that smoking weed under the trees where the cars park, and I judged them also. I said, I don't want to be like that people. I can't believe they smoke weed. But I say that, and then 2 hours later we will go drink beers at the. So yeah, I was very judgmental. And in England, for the first time, I started using substances, and I felt more belonged. All of a sudden, I felt like this is something that I needed long ago. I'm not so, and especially in England, you can hear my English is not good now. Can you imagine 20 years ago, after I came out of Afrikaans school? And I was even thinking my English is great all of a sudden. and then, yet again, I was there only for 10 months. I got fired 8 times. I had 9 different jobs. I was unemployable, and that carried on as my story will go on. And I always also blamed the people for the people I worked for and stuff. And in England, I didn't worry too much to get fired, because I was 18 years old. This is what 18-year-olds do. And I never thought that, I always thought I will get away with this. It's just the phase that I'm going through. And like I say, later in life, where I sit today, I see all these behavioral things that what I did was, that's why I am here today, because I was blaming drugs and alcohol, but I will get there. bit later. And so when I came back from England, my mom's best friend, the one that scanned my reports always, I think she also regretted this move, but she said, no, I can come work for her. I don't have to go back to England. They started a second-hand car dealership. So she said I must come and see if I could sell cars. She believed, and I did. So I went and did that, and I did quite well. I did quite well when I started, and that's a pattern of my life. Always when I start something, I'm quite well. I can do it quite well, but it was the same as this story. I always sold my 10, 12 cars a month, and all of a sudden I'm making money. Out of nowhere, now I make money, and that also went to my head. I was thinking, shit, I can't believe my friends are studying 4 or 5 years, and I can make what they're going to make, I make now, so how stupid are they, and all that stuff. And soon after that, I obviously took advantage. I'm an alcoholic. I didn't teach up Mondays, most Mondays for work. Sundays was my day where I would party the lacquerers, the best. And there was times where I was thinking, shit, this is my mom's best friend. She's doing all this stuff for me. I must stop doing that. But I couldn't. And so I bought a house. At that time, I was 20 years old. I bought a house. I could drive any car I want. I had all these amazing friends. So all the parties was always at my place, and I had fun. It was, till today, if I think it was fun. There's no other way to put it. And I was still young. Like I said, nobody ever said to me, listen here, you go too far with this. And as that went on, I rolled free of that company cars. They couldn't fire me because I was a friend of she's one of my mom's friends. And sorry, I just checked at the time, and I see I've lost the story a bit, but I want to talk more to when things hit the fan a bit. When I was 28, 29, my best friend came to me and said, listen, I think you need help. Because you're changing, you're not the same that you always been. And this friend used with me once or twice when we go to Cape Town or wherever we go. And I was in a relationship in 2013, and I was thinking, okay, this is the one, I'm going to marry this girl, I'm going to have kids with her, all that stuff. And it didn't work out. I was too jealous. She couldn't do nothing. Then I made this relationship all about me, because that was at the time I fixed. She made me feel good, so she must keep making me feel good. And if she doesn't, then I look for something to, either a big fight. We were always fighting, or making up. It was one of those two. There was never just a consistent flow. And she left me. She actually took long. I would have left someone like me quite earlier, but she left me after a year and a half, and that was, I struggled. I struggled for the first time, really. I struggled. I woke up and drink, and I didn't even hide it. At the time, I was staying at my parents' place. We started the business together, and one of my friends came to fetch me one day, and he said, do you want this stuff? It's going to help you. And I felt so shit, I don't really care. So I said anything to make my heart feel better. And that day, that is where everything changed for me. I asked him a week later for that dealer's number. And I was still ashamed to do it. I said, no, it's for friends of mine that's from Cape Town, that's here, we're gonna, that whole story. And from that I used every day. For 2 years I could hide it quite well, but then you start losing weight. It's summer, it's the middle of summer, it's heavy warm, but you can't wear shorts and just a t-shirt because you need to try and hide that you're losing weight. And so obviously my friends picked up on it, and I went to my mum and said, listen here, we need to find help for this guy, he's going to kill himself. And my mum didn't believe it. She said, there's no way that you will take drugs. There's no way, she's not even going to entertain the story. So my dad flew down from Cape Town, and my dad's got that rule, you don't lie. From we were young, if you do something, rather tell him, listen, I've done that. 9 out of 10 is not going to give you a hiding, but if you lie, every time you'll get a hiding. And he asked me, listen here, John said you used, I don't want to go into substances, but you sniffed something of this and that. And when he was sitting in front of me, I just couldn't lie. I said, yes, Dad, I did. But he also did a year ago. He did it with me in Cape Town, so I blamed him. John was just sitting there thinking, this guy. And my dad asked, is it a problem? I said, no, it's a once-off. And John said to my dad, listen, it's not a once-off. Look how he looks. He's skinny. We don't see him anymore. He's never at work, all that stuff. And then my dad asked me to go into a treatment center, and I said, there's no way I can do that. I don't need help. I'm fine, because I truly believed at the time I will be able to stop, but I could never stop. And long story short, to get the people off my back, I said, okay, I will go to a 21 day. I must have a TV in my room with DSTV, and I need my phone at least for 2 hours a day, because I was in a relationship again and I need to be controlling and see what she's doing. I can't go for 21 days and I don't know what my girlfriend's doing, where she is with who, all that stuff. So I went to a treatment center in Drakensberg somewhere, and I believe if I do this for 21 days, I walked in there and said, listen, I've got a substance problem, but don't teach me or try to tell me how to stop drinking, because I won't. I want to stop using this and this, but on a Saturday when there's rugby on, I want to have a beer, and I'm going to have a beer. So they knew they can't really help me. I was in my room the whole time, came out that same day. I used again, and my friend tried again. He said, please, Joyce, I'm going to write you off. If you don't stop doing that stuff, you're not going to be part of my life. And always promised them I'll stop, and I did try. There were times when I said, shit, okay. Let me go today. Let's say it's the 15th of the month. I will tell myself, okay, it's in the middle of the month, so you don't have to stop now. Stop at the end of the month. At least finish it strong. At the end of the month, on the first day, it's not 8 hours, and I promised myself I'm going to stop. And I found that leader, and there I knew shit, okay. And so I went on for another 2 years, where I tell myself I'm going to stop, and I couldn't. And my sister went to court. Because she could, then my mum found out I am using, and it broke her heart. She was blaming herself I think she was thinking of all the stuff that she did for me, the car, the this, the that, and she was realizing maybe wasn't good for me. And they court sectioned me to go to a facility for a year, and they had quite solid proof. They had a video of me where I was using, and so the people at the court, I was trying to fight it, and they said, don't try to fight this. So I went to a treatment center, and I was chased away for going into a dishonest relationship. They chased me to a different facility in Joburg, and the same thing happened there. I ran out of treatment with a girl, and I was thinking, this is why God sent me to rehab, because I found my wife. And the sad thing about this is, it wasn't even 2 weeks out of treatment, and I put her on substances that she was never using, and that's how selfish I was. I only cared about myself, and that's quite a sad thing. And my journey went on for another. I did treatment 7 times because I didn't want to do what they say I must do. I had always my own plans. I will do treatment for 3 months, but I want to, after treatment, get on with my life. I don't want to. And in the end, I went to the house on the hill, and I did that also 3 times. Because the first time, I was thinking I'm in the boat, but not really. I wanted to get out of shit rehab in Porch. And I said, please send me somewhere to the sea. I just want to see the sea, and maybe I can recover. And so I went to the house on the hill for 3 months. At the time, a lot happened in there. I just wanted to go for 21 days. And in the end, I stayed there 3 months, but it was a fight the whole time. I didn't walk in there and say, okay, tell me what to do, and I will do it. I was there for 21 days, then Stel will come with something, then I must think about it first before I can say I will stay another month. So the whole weekend I lie in my room and think, shit, must I do this, must I? Then I'll do it. And so it went on and on. And I went to Halfwells. I didn't want to, by the way. And I was thinking, okay, let me do all this stuff and then I'm going to go diving, because that's what I wanted to do. And I was in Halfwells and I was not in the boat the first time. I was not in the boat. I didn't like it. I didn't like nothing of it. And because if you're not in the boat, I truly believe it. If you're not in the boat, this is hard work to do. Recovery is hard work. But if you're in the boat, it comes naturally. And I left the Halfwells 3 weeks in. I ran to Umkamals and relapsed. And it wasn't even like it's a relapse for me. I just couldn't do that anymore. The pain of being in recovery that time was the same as being using. It was the same thing because I was dry. I did go to meetings, but I didn't want to. And I was thinking, because I was quite an amount of time clean, if I just drink, because I still believe I can drink. So someone up at the hill told me I won't be able to drink 2 beers and not use. So I said, I'll buy a bottle of brandy and I'll drink that whole thing and shame I will not use substances. And not even halfway through, I ran over the golf course to the caddies and get substances, and it didn't end up well for me there. 4 days after I left halfway, I was swimming into the sea because people were chasing me and I was in psychosis. And how I made it through all of this stuff, I don't know. It's obviously God, it's not me, because there's no way that I could have survived all this stuff, and there's many more. But the last time, what changed for me, I went back to the house on the hill for 21 days, and this time I wasn't in the boat from the start. I said, don't try to help me, I'm not in the boat, I'm here to get a bit healthier, and I want to go dive. And they said, listen, you go out, get more pain, and come back when you had enough pain. I was thinking after, I don't understand, I can take a lot of pain. And 2 months after that, I was back for the last time, and I said, listen here, even there was someone in the house on the hill that saw me in the 21 days, and then when I came back 2 months later, she was still there. And when she saw me coming back, apparently she went to a counselor and said, I will go to Halfwells. I don't want to look like this guy. They had to stitch me out. No, it was just, even you still, every time you see me, you say, yeah, shame, I could see you had a rough time. And now I'm thinking, yes, how do I really look? Because you always think you look better maybe than you do. And yeah, and I want to end it off with, I did my last time in the house on the hill, and what changed for me was I didn't have plans. For the first time in my life, I had no plans of what I'm going to do after this, what I'm going to do after the 3 months, what I'm going to do after halfway. And that's when things changed for me, because I believe for the first time then I lived in God's will. I 100% believe I can't drink, I can't use, and that took me a long time to get there. It was lots of pain for me and my family, and I wish it could have happened earlier for them, but unfortunately my journey is what it is. And the last time I just said, whatever comes, I will do. I've got no plans because my plans don't work. And I had to go through a lot to realize my plans is not set plans, but I can't do them. And today I sit here, a year and a bit into recovery, and I've got all my family back. I forgot to mention that the resentments I had against my sister and brothers were big, and today I've got them back. They message me on a daily basis. So yeah, I'm so grateful for this, and like I say, the moment when I let my plans, I don't have plans, then I got better, and I've got this fellowship to thank for that. The fellowship, I've got the yield to thank for that, and then most of all also halfway, because if I didn't do halfway, I won't be sitting here today. I know that for fact. And so I want to thank everybody in the fellowship, halfway, for what you guys did for me, because this is something, if I'm alone I went home now for a week, and if I'm alone there, I didn't go to meetings and I didn't speak to my sponsor, then I get into a mess. I felt that same feeling that I always felt when I wanted to use. I felt that it's a feeling that I just knew that if I feel this way for too long, I'll go back. So I can't do this alone, and I can't obviously do it without going on my knees and having a higher power and just let He move me forward. And yeah, I'm truly grateful, and thanks for letting me share.
Thanks.